Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comics review video. I'm Andy, and Matt's not here. Matt is feeling a little under the weather, so it is up to me to do the video today all by my lonesome. And if you'll notice, this is a day later than we usually do it because of the holiday, the shipping, all of that got a little thrown off. So I had to read a lot of books today by myself, and I'm going to attempt to talk about them. It is a big week, so head on over to infinityflux.net right now and you can order these books. They should be live right now. We are working currently trying to get everything in the system. So it'll all be up by tomorrow, which is when the books go up for sale. But I'm also going to be showing some of the variant covers, but not all of them because they are still currently working on doing all the pulls and everything for the our local customers and our online customers, all of that. So I grabbed some of the variants for some of the bigger books, and I will show those off as well as talk about the big ones this week. And I'm going to start off with Exceptional X-Men #1. This is our next new big X book. This one is by Eve Ewing and the artist by Carmen Carnero. This one's really cool. So I love Kitty Pryde. This is the Kitty Pryde central book. And yes, I know she went for as Kate Pryde for a long time. She is going by Kitty Pryde now. You have to read it to see how she kind of chooses to do that. But she is feeling a lot of remorse about what she had to kind of stoop to during the Krakoan era. She went back to the title Shadowcat. She became kind of an assassin, which is pretty dark for her. But she now is working in a coffee shop, and she is trying to stay as busy as possible. So she doesn't even think about any of that. She tries to work overtime, all of that. But she's now living with a childhood friend named Preeti, and in an apartment. So she's trying to live a normal life, and that's very hard for an X-Man, considering they had such a big role in recent events. But she's trying to stay away from anything that involves mutants. But one day she is attempting to go on a date, but she got the day wrong, and she's like, "Well, I'm out. While I'm out, I'm just gonna try to enjoy myself." But she sees a young girl get bullied and kind of pushed around by some people at a concert, and she decides to step in and try to help. And it turns into a big ordeal, and she tries to escape with her. That is a new character. I think is going to be called Bronze, and she's really interesting. But she's going to also kind of show Kitty what it means to be a mutant again, and kind of accept that you should try to run away from being a mutant. You should try to accept it. And it looks like we're going to be setting up a new team as Kitty's going to be trying to train a couple of new mutants. But this issue is mostly focused on her and kind of her coming to grips with what she has just been during the Krakoan stuff and taking on that new role in what the world looks like now for mutants. Also, Emma Frost is on a lot of these covers, but what is up with her? There's only about 1 or 2 pages with Emma Frost, but it seems really interesting what she's trying to do, and we'll have to read further in the series to really learn what her plan is. But some cool stuff coming up. We do have some variant covers for this one as well. So this one is really awesome. This is the Edge variant, and it is a foil. Even her skin is foil, so it kind of plays off of that. Her mutant ability to turn into diamond. Very, very cool. We've also got a U variant, which is the Godzilla variant. We've got a Elizabeth Torque variant, so you've got Bronze right there. Some of the other cover characters that are on these covers have not appeared yet. Here is the cover by Baldion that is just with Bronze. She's really fun. She's like a super fan of like a K-pop group. We also have this Koblish variant, the wraparound having every X-Men ever. And we have this Rose Besh variant as well. Lockheed does not make an appearance in this, but I hope he does eventually. So yeah, there is more covers than that. There's some incentives, all that, but that will be over on infinityflux.net, and you can check them out there along with their prices, all that good stuff. Next up, I've got a big one we were talking about for a long time leading up to this. This is Ultimates number 4. So this one's really interesting because with all the news about Robert Downey Jr. going to be playing Doctor Doom in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie and the Secret Wars movie, the writer of this has been Camp has been talking about, if you want to understand what that is all about, read this issue of Ultimates. And so we were very curious, what does that mean? And I'll say you can interpret a lot after reading this about what that means. Um, but this is a spotlight on Doom, Doctor Doom issue, with guest artist Phil Noto on this. And I'll say, so this is the version of Doctor Doom that is Reed Richards. We already know that. We've known that since that Ultimate Invasion storyline that we got that kicked off this new Ultimate Universe. But we don't know a whole lot about this Reed Richards Doom that we saw in there. We just know, he's wearing the helmet, he's doing all of that, the mask, he's got the blue cape. But what is his story? Why is Reed Richards the leader of the Fantastic Four, all of that, taking on the role of his greatest enemy? Well, we learned that this version of Reed Richards had a much darker time in the past. His version of the Fantastic Four did not go as well as our 616 universe version of him. And we learn why he is called Doom, who called him that for the first time, and what is this version of Doom trying to do in this new Ultimate Universe? What's his ultimate goal? And we see maybe it's something that could even lead him down a path that is closer to the Doom that we know, but we'll have to wait and find out. So I do think we get some hints in here of some story beats that could be similar to what we see with the Robert Downey Jr. Doctor Doom, but I'm not positive. We'll know that this will all be cleared up once that movie comes out. Maybe we see what this version of Doom is. But I still highly recommend this book because I thought it was really good, and I'm really interested to see more of this new version of this Doom and his attempts at a Fantastic Four. So we've got our A cover right there. We also have this Rod Rice variant, which I seem like that does kind of happen. We learn what the maker maybe did to this Reed Richards. We've got this Wes Craig variant. And we have this Inyuk Lee variant, which is very, very cool. Okay, next up is one I am really excited to talk about. This is Plastic Man No More. This is a new Black Label DC book. And this is written by Christopher Cantwell, and the art is by Alex Lenz and Jacob Edgar. And you'll see when you read it why that art kind of shakes up between scenes. So this is a Black Label book. It's not set in the main DC continuity, but one that is very similar to just your classic DC heroes. They're very, the core versions of the characters. And we have Plastic Man. We know that he is, even in this universe, Eel O'Brien. He was a kind of a petty thief and kind of an overall kind of not great guy. But an accident happened to him. They really do a great job at covering his origin story in here. An accident happened with him. He got these Plastic Man powers, decided to do better with his life, joined the Justice League, had a baby, which I don't believe we've seen since, maybe even before the New 52, is Plastic Man's son, who also has the same abilities he does. He, I think, married his kind of sweetheart named Angel, but we also see it started to not go so well as he is a very self-centered person. As life went on, he chose the hero life and the celebrity and all of that more than his family. So he became kind of estranged from his family and his son. But in this, the Justice League, which is where the art style changes to a very classic, like Justice League New Frontier style, they are facing off against a villain named Solaris, who uses a big ray gun and tries to, I think, shoot an orphanage or something like that. It's very kind of goofy, classic Justice League, where in this Plastic Man makes himself big and blocks the blast, and it does pretty decent damage to Plastic Man. And the Justice League are like, "Great job, guys! We all did a great job," even though Plastic Man kind of did the majority of it. And Plastic Man is like, "Wow, that actually really hurt." And the Justice League all laughs at him and it's like, "Oh, Plastic Man, classic joke from Plastic Man." And he's like, "That actually really hurt." Uh, and that's kind of one of the themes of this book is no one really takes Plastic Man serious, even when you need to take him seriously. And he comes to find out that what happened to him when he got hit with that is something about it destabilized his body makeup, and he has started decaying the way plastic does. And he goes to see a specialist on this that actually works for Wayne Tech and learns that this is kind of, you can't reverse it, and he is slowly going to be falling apart. And now his worry is maybe his son is going to eventually, this will happen to him as well. And is there anything he can do to stop it? So this is a really fun book. Unlike a lot of Black Label books, this does still feel pretty classic superhero, all of that, but with a very darker edge, taking such a comedic character and shining a different light on him, where maybe it's not all fun and games. Maybe he actually is a pretty, real person with some serious issues. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. It can get gross at sometimes as his body starts to fall apart, but in kind of a fun way, as weird as that sounds. But I really, really like this book. I hope everyone checks this out. This is one of my favorite ones this week, if not my favorite. So that is our A cover. And then we also have this really nice Chris Samney cover. And I think there is a couple more covers, so head on over to infinityflux.net where you can check those out. Next up, I've got Absolute Power #3. I don't want to give away too much about this because, there's one issue left of Absolute Power, and this is kind of the big deal right now in the DC Universe. So, we do know in this, the heroes have escaped after the attack on the Fortress of Solitude, and they're trying to regroup on Paradise Island. That's where they were sent through the portals. Even though the Themyscirians aren't super happy with them being there, because they're dealing with their own stuff. If you're reading Wonder Woman, you know that the Amazonians are like outlawed, but they kind of broker a peace for a little while so they can, the heroes can regroup and have a plan. But that's not going to last for long. Also, Amanda Waller starts to question a couple of her Amazo robots, and if you've been reading the Task Force 7 series, you know that especially the Green Lantern one and the Flash one, maybe they've absorbed more than the heroes' powers, maybe some of their minds and their consciousness and their willpower as well. So she's actually learning a bit about that. And we learned that there is a key person that the heroes have learned that they need to find that may be the key to getting their powers back. And I don't want to give away who that is, but it's kind of an obscure character. Plus, Flash makes a big discovery in this one that I feel like is going to lead maybe even to our new Absolute Universe coming up with Absolute Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Don't know for sure, but it does seem like there's some bigger things at play right at the end of this issue. So a really fun issue of Absolute Power with #3. I don't have any of the variants with me for that one at the moment, but I also wanted to show the Absolute or Batman issue 152. But this is the third part of our Absolute Power tie-in. Came out this week as well, and this just wraps up the storyline that was going on with Batman and Catwoman and all of that, trying to steal something to help them in their battle against Amanda Waller. It is wrapped up in this, and it's wrapped up where you read this before Absolute Power. It doesn't really make a huge difference which one you read, but this one does leave the characters where we pick them up in issue #3 of Absolute Power. So, if you're a stickler for reading things in order, you would read Batman first. But we've got some great variants for this as well. We've got this awesome Nicholas Scott Batman variant with Adam West, but in the Dark Knight Returns lightning bolt scene. We've got another Nicola Scott. This is the artist spotlight she's been doing with all of the different versions of Batman and characters. We're going to be seeing a lot more of those. Next up, a book I've been really excited about. This is Star Wars The Acolyte Kalnacca #1. This is a one shot that gives us a little bit more backstory on Kalnacca from the show The Acolyte. So, this is written by Kevin Scott and the art's by Marika Cresta. And this is set back almost closer to it is set where the High Republic comics and stuff are taking place. So we do see some familiar faces from the comics and novels, and we meet a young character. Most of this issue is from a perspective of a Padawan named Yar Zion, and he is a Padawan who's lost his master in the fall of the Starlight Beacons space station, and has to continue his training with another Jedi, and that other Jedi ends up being Kalnacca, who is pretty cold. He's a very reserved Jedi, doesn't speak unless he has something to say, and is overall kind of a hard read for his new Padawan. But we follow their relationship through a lot of the big events of the High Republic, and we learn kind of that Kalnacca does have not a softer side, but a more understanding and caring side. And we learn how Kalnacca got those like tattoos on his head, all of that. It's a really nice issue. It's a great one and done story, and I know we are getting Kalnacca in the upcoming main High Republic book. When it starts back up next year, he's going to be one of the main cast of it. So I feel like this is a little precursor to that, and maybe we'll see some of these characters that pop up in this show up in that one as well. So that is your A cover by Phil Noto. We also have a really nice Okazaki variant. And then moving right along, we've got a new indie book from Boom called Minor Arcana, and this is from Jeff Lemire. I love Jeff Lemire. I love Jeff Lemire's when he writes and draws stuff like Sweet Tooth, Essex County, all of that is my favorite Jeff Lemire work. And this is really cool. This feels back. He does a couple of things really, really well. One, Jeff Lemire is Canadian, and he writes about Canada just fantastic. Like, it's hard to explain, but if you've read some of the stuff, you know what that means. And he does small town really well. Very relatable characters, all of that. Well, in this book, we have our main character who's on the cover named Teresa, and she is returning to her hometown very begrudgingly, but because her mom is sick and seems close to dying, but she has a very poor relationship with her mother, who is the town psychic. She kind of runs a little like hole in the wall. She reads tarot cards. She does that kind of stuff. But Teresa is like, my mom's the biggest liar. She just makes up and fleeces people out of money. And she seems to, we don't know the full reason why she despises her hometown so much. We know, like, she comes in hot and angry and very confrontational with some of the locals. Um, and we see that there's maybe even some people that she left behind when she moved to the big city that are in that town that she may be one of her reasons for leaving originally. Um, but something happens when she's taking care of her mother, and one of her mother's customers shows up at the door in the middle of the night and says, I need a reading from your mother. And Teresa's like, my mom's really sick. She can't do that right now, so maybe just come back later or something. And she's like, well, maybe you have the same abilities your mother does. Can you do my reading? And Teresa's not a great person. She's like, yeah, for the money, I'll do it. And she thinks she's just gonna like fake her way through it. People just want to hear what they want to hear. But something happens that maybe means there's more to her mother and Teresa than she originally thought. This is really great. So Jeff Lemire's art, I know if people see it for the first time, can be kind of turned away by it. That's him doing the cover there, but it fits that hometown character feel. If you Sweet Tooth. I mean, it's the perfect fit for stories like this, and this is no exception. So I highly recommend Minor Arcana. This is another one of my favorite ones this week, and just great to get a classic feeling Jeff Lemire book again. So this is your A cover by Jeff Lemire. We have another Jeff Lemire cover. This time it's doing the Something is Killing the Children, like celebrating the anniversary of it, with Erica Slaughter on the cover as well. And we have this nice Tula Lotte variant, which is really cool. Next up, I've got Marvel Zombies Dawn of Decay #1. This is another new one from Marvel. This is by Thomas Krajewski and Jason Murr. And in this, it's so after reading it, I was like, oh, that was different than the other Marvel Zombies. Then I looked, this is an all ages book. So this is a way that they can kind of do an all ages Marvel Zombies, because the zombie ness in this is based off of Groot and is very plant based. Groot and Rocket get caught by General Ross when they're trying to steal a weapon that they say they were trying to steal before someone else could do something bad with it. But the Avengers bail them out, but are kind of disappointed with them and disappointed with, they say even in space they're an extension of the Avengers and this is not what they should be doing. But through this whole thing, Groot has kind of a cold. He keeps sneezing, and wouldn't you know it, he sneezes on Captain America's face. And yeah, does not end up well, as it looks like that is the beginning of this plant-based zombie outbreak. So it says all ages. I would say, definitely for a little bit older, probably 10, 11, 12 year olds would really like this. But it does have the feeling of a little bit younger book rather than your traditional Marvel Zombies, which is pretty mature. But still really fun if you're looking for a new book that it's not really scary, but it kind of fits in going into the fall season. And once again, other covers online. Next up, I've got The Autumn Kingdom. This is a new book from Cullen Bunn and Christopher Mitten. And we've talked about this one a lot on some of the previous shows. It's just, we love Cullen Bunn. We love his creator-owned stuff. This is really cool. So this is about a best-selling fantasy author who takes him and his family to what seems like the kind of Scandinavian um, wilderness, to a cabin, because he wants to work on his book there and kind of be inspired, because his books are very high fantasy. Um, they remind me a lot of like Elric, because half of this book is you reading those stories that he's writing. But when they get there, he has two kids, his daughters Summer and Winter. They want to go explore the lands, and they stumble across kind of a clearing in the woods that has statues of trolls and elves and stuff, and they think this is super cool. They go back and tell their dad about what they found. But that night, seems like some creatures that could even be out of the dad's book come, and you'll have to read to find out what happens. But it seems like a beginning of a very cool kind of coming of age adventure story where the real world meets fantasy, all of that. Very nice tone to it. It's very autumn feeling, very warm. So a really fun one there. And moving right along, I've got no one to bounce off of, so we're just going to keep going. This time with What If Donald Duck Became Thor. Not a whole lot to say here about this one. It's pretty self explanatory. Much like the What If Donald Duck Became Wolverine. This one tells the story of Donald stumbling upon a walking stick in a cave, and as he's trying to move a boulder with it, he knocks it and becomes Thor. This is really fun. This is just another one shot of the kind of What If plus Disney characters. We're going to be getting a What If Minnie Mouse became Captain Marvel coming up. So if you like these kind of things, I know the people really like the Wolverine one. I really like the Wolverine one. So you will like this one as well. It's got a lot of homages to the original first appearance of Thor. You can even tell by the cover. So I recommend this one if you like that kind of thing. Of course, this is just a fun book, as we say, but a nice palate cleanser between some of the heavier stuff that is your A cover for that. I did want to show some of the variants for this because we've got a Scotty Young cover and a nice homage by Walt Simonson of the famous Walt Simonson first appearance of Beta Ray Bill. And then we have Conan Battle for the Black Stone #1. So some of these later ones I didn't get to read in depth as much as I wanted to because they all came in today and had about 20 books to read before we did the show, before I did the show. So I skimmed some of them. I read the big ones, and I only got a chance to skim through this one, but I do know that, like I was thinking after the Free Comic Book Day book, that this is kind of our first, not crossover, but it's a crossover within the universe of Conan and some of the other Robert E. Howard characters. So this is written by your main writer on Conan, Jim Zub, with art by Jonas Scharf. And just looks really fun. I can't wait to actually sit down and read this one all the way through. But this definitely has Solomon Kane in it. It looks like it's got some of the other more familiar Robert E. Howard characters along with Conan. So this is your A cover for that. Next up, we have Scarlet #4, I believe. Yes, Scarlet #4 of 5. So this is the 5-issue miniseries. And this is continues the fantastic Scarlet series in the Energon universe as Scarlet finally meets up with Jinx, who she's kind of been trying to find this whole time because she has a old friendship with Jinx and has been worried about her. And in this one, as they are trying to recover this artifact, this weapon that is very dangerous, her and Jinx and Storm Shadow have a great action scene as they're trying to get this. And you do find out what the weapon that they've been trying to find in this is, but we're going to have to learn more about it in the next issue. But another great Energon Universe title. Then next up, we've got a couple more Star Wars books. This is Star Wars The High Republic Adventures Echoes of Fear. So this is a new mini-series, which is really cool. I was not expecting this to be a mini-series. I thought it was a one-shot like a lot of them. But this is about, or it's by George Mann, and the art is by Vincenzo Frederici and Vincenzo Riccardi. And you can definitely tell when the art shifts in this, and it's really cool how it does it. But some young Jedi set in the High Republic are trying to learn how to stop the Nameless, which, if you know the Nameless, they've been a constant threat through the entire High Republic books, where they force powers don't work on them, and they potentially, if they get in the vicinity of Jedi, turn them basically to ash, turn the Jedi to ash. And so some young Jedi are going through the Jedi library to try to find clues to how to defeat them, and they come across a holocron that tells the story of Darth Ravi the Bold. And Darth Ravi is a character I think was mentioned years ago when all of the High Republic stuff started, but we never knew anything about him. Well, this tells his story, and I'm really excited to see where this goes because that's kind of a one and done story. And it seems like as they keep reading different books, we're going to learn some new stories from the High Republic of characters we didn't know about. So that is your issue #1 and your A cover. And then also we do have a one shot this week. It's Star Wars High Republic Adventures Crash and Burn. This continues the character of Crash, who had a one shot before, and their team going up against the Nile. You do get Marchion Rowe in this one again. So if you're looking for another tie-in book, and this one is by Daniel Jose Older and Nick Brokenshire. So really cool one there. And these are mainly the books that I did not get a chance to read too much. Mostly because I did not get a chance to read #1 of Venom War, but this is Venom War #2. Hopefully when Matt comes back for future videos, maybe when #3 comes out, we can kind of do a recap of 1, 2, and 3. But if you've been reading this event, continues on here. And we do have Venom War Spider-Man as well coming out the same week. I know Matt really liked the first Venom War Spider-Man, so it continues this week with issue #2s. Also this week is Trinity Special World's Finest. They call this #1. Yeah, this is #1, but this actually collects the stories about Wonder Woman's daughter Trinity. that have been in the back of the Wonder Woman issues for a little while. This continues those. So these are not original stories, but they are collected ones if you just want to read the stories about Trinity, her and John Kent and Damian Wayne. Really, really fun ones. And I'm not sure if it was in the actual story that was in the Trinity backup story in Wonder Woman, but this one does say that to be continued, and it teases Trinity's first solo series coming soon, which I thought was really cool. And I don't think I knew that that was coming. So if you haven't read the Trinity stuff and you're not planning on reading Wonder Woman, you can check out this to get those backup stories. One that I really wanted to read, but I didn't get a chance. This is Rook Exodus number 5. Just continues to be a great series, and I can't wait to read this one by Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok. So check that one out. Also, we've got Kid Venom number 2. So if you read number 1, you'll definitely want to check that out. And lastly, one I really wanted to read, but I did not get a chance. This is Duck and Cover number 1 by Scott Snyder and Rafael Albuquerque, the team from American Vampire, which I love. And yeah, so I didn't get a chance to read it. It feels like an oversized book, but you know it's going to be good, so I can't wait to dive into that one as well. And boy, howdy, that is it. I went over a lot of books. That was about 20 books. I got to read most of them all the way through. I read some of them kind of halfway through, and unfortunately didn't get to read some of them. But some great books. So head on over to infinityflux.net right now, where you can order these books. There is more variant covers, more number 1s, more issue 2s and 3s and 4s, and all of that good stuff over there. And they should all be there by tonight, if not sometime right in the morning. So yeah, don't hesitate. Head over there and check those out. And hopefully Matt will be back with us soon. I'm not sure how long he's going to be gone, but until then, I am going to keep trucking. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see ya.